What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday evening. Almost said morning. It's not morning, it's Tuesday evening. Welcome to JARcast, Movie Entertainment Podcast, Episode 3. I made it. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff to go over this evening. Nothing huge, really, but we do have a few cool little things I thought would be I was interested in getting into. We're going to be talking about a really odd movie that's moving really fast, a series that many of you may be interested in. Another movie that I'm excited about, but I'm not really sure about the way they're going. A certain actor from a famous movie talking about said actor's thoughts on a sequel to that movie that I'm not sure I totally agree with. And a legend, two legends, in fact, coming back to the screen, one big, one small. So yeah, tonight, like I said, we got a few things to go over. Also, real quick, I want to let you guys know that this podcast is also available on Spotify now. Just search JARcast or Jacob Anders Reviews, and it should show up under all those. It will soon be on Google Play or Google Music, whatever they call it, Amazon Music, and also iTunes. They are all, it's in the approval process with all of those. It may actually be now. I have to go check this evening after I do this. But it will be showing up on all of your favorite podcasting providers. So if you'd rather listen to this, which you may be while you're listening to this, but if you'd rather listen to this instead of watch it, you can. If you'd like to watch the video version, of course, always come to my channel, Jacob Anders Reviews on YouTube, and check that out. So let's jump right in to the news for this week. First and foremost, or not necessarily foremost, but probably the most immediate news of the week would definitely be Gamestop the movie, or whatever they're going to call it. They're making this. This is a thing, and that's with what's going on right now in the world. The whole GameStop stock, Reddit, Wall Street bets, that whole thing that I'm sure everybody's at least heard of. It's worth looking into that thing too. If you're not, I'm not really big into stocks, and I'm not going to say I can't understand the stock market. I've never tried. I've never had an interest in it. So I did have to kind of look into it and see exactly what was going on with that whole thing. And it is pretty interesting. And it's pretty cool, especially if you're kind of like the root for the little guy kind of person and you kind of want the little guy to get his day or their day. This is definitely that story. It's odd, though, that they're already greenlit a movie, not only a movie, but two movies, and now a TV show. So it is odd that they have greenlit two movies and a TV show, much less just one, and this whole thing's not even over. I mean, literally, this started a week ago, maybe just right over a week ago, and they've already got movies. They've got people attached to it to star and all that, and directors and writers. It's fucking crazy, man. What the hell? I just thought that was... They don't even know how it's going to... I mean, it could just, like, end on, like, like, nothing. Nothing might come of it. I mean, something has already come of it, but nothing exciting. I mean, it might just end, like, terribly, and then your movie's just boring. I don't know. I find it odd that they decided to go ahead and... Because there's already a book that they're writing and everything, because like one of the movies is based on the book that hadn't even been written yet, so that's odd. But yeah, these movies, one of them is being the one that is based on the book, I believe the book is called To the Moon. Let's see here. It said, I'm sorry. The TV show that was just announced is going to be called To the Moon, and is going to be based on the GameStop Wall Street Chaos. And it is being released by a company called Pinky Promise. I have not heard of them, but no news on what, where it's going to go or any of that. It says something about AMC here. Maybe there. I don't know. We don't know what 100%. We don't know where this show's going to show up, but it sounds like they're fast tracking it. But there's also a movie that is going to be coming to Netflix that is being written by Oscar-winning writer Mark Boal, B-O-A-L, Bo? I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm terrible with names. He is also the scriptwriter for To All the Boys I Loved Before. So, oh wait, I'm sorry. No, that is incorrect. The star of To All the Boys I Loved Before, Noah Centineo, once again, terrible with names, is on board to be a lead in the cast of that version of this story. So, yeah, I mean, they got that going. And like I said, MGM also, they were the first one to drop it and say, hey, we've got this this GameStop Wall Street movie coming. I don't know how I feel about that, man. That's just crazy. I mean, it is an interesting story. I don't know if it's interesting enough for an entire movie, though. I mean, granted, you had The Social Network, which actually I think this one's called, the book they're writing for it, and the movie that's going to be based on the book is called I think it was called The Unsocial Network or something like that. It's a play on The Social Network name. But I just thought it's really, really soon. I mean, it's so soon the shit's not even over with yet. We don't know how it's going to end, and you're already in pre-production for 3 projects for this thing. That's crazy. If you're not familiar, I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard of it. Like I said, it is definitely worth going on there and checking out. Even if you don't know anything about stocks aren't the most, or Wall Street and all that's not the most interesting in the world thing in the world to me. But there's plenty of videos online of people talking about it and giving a brief breakdown to just kind of put it in layman's terms, if you will, so you can understand what's going on here and how these guys have been screwing over these big Wall Street guys who have been screwing everybody over for years. So, I mean, that part of it's kind of cool. And I thought it was kind of neat that Jordan Belfil, is that his name? The Wolf of Wall Street, the real Wolf of Wall Street, he's chimed in and said he thinks it's awesome that they're doing this because he said it's pretty much what his firm used to do to a degree. So that's pretty cool. If any of you got in on that when that all started, by the way, this whole GameStop, and I think AMC was on it too. If any of you got in on that, then yeah, you could be do some big money. But there's not a whole lot more information on this thing yet. I just thought it was odd that they're that quick to jump on it. That just shows how quick Hollywood, if you will, I know this isn't all Hollywood, but it's all kind of Hollywood, is so quick to jump on something to be first to that new thing. I mean, before they even see if there's a thing there to be had. I mean, yes, it's a thing right now just because it's happening, but is it really we don't know. You can't really say it's that big of a thing until it's over and done with. So we don't know. Because one of the big things about it is that the people that have done this thing they've done, they're holding on to it. And the longer, it's almost like they're holding them hostage. But it is costing them money, potentially at least, to hold them hostage. It's kind of like a staring contest between the big guys and the little guy. And the little guys have all banded together and said, we're holding the line, we're not letting go. And the big guys are like, oh, you will. And they're trying to pressure them. And then, like, the media is getting involved. There's a lot of stuff going on there. The media is really tearing into everybody, calling people names, saying, just all of a sudden coming to the defense of these people that have kind of screwed people over for years. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of telling about the media as well. So lots of cool things there. I'm not going to make any assumptions as to what will happen or what will not, but it'll be an interesting story to keep an eye on. I just don't know if it'll be an interesting enough story for 2 movies and a fucking TV show. So, but hey, they're doing it either way. I imagine if they want to stay relevant, they're going to probably fast track these things and get them out maybe by the end of the year or beginning of next year. Who knows? It really kind of depends on what all happens with this deal and what transpires as a whole, where it goes, if it's just going to kind of go out on a whimper or if it's going to turn into something bigger. I don't know. We'll find out. All right, so next in the news, after all that GameStop nonsense, we got something a little bit more lighthearted. Some of you will be happy to hear this. Some of you will probably be like, okay, whatever. But it is a big thing in the news, and that would be, of course, the Wakanda series coming from Ryan Coogler. As with the last news story, there's not a whole lot known about this as of yet, besides the fact that it's going to center on Wakanda from Black Panther, and it is going to be developed by Ryan Coogler, the director, and I think he was the writer also of 2018's Black Panther. And it's going to be on Disney+. He apparently has signed a 5-year deal with Disney to just create content for them, stuff. So he's part of Disney now for at least 5 years. Obviously, not joking in any way, but Black Panther himself, unless they end up recasting that role, will not be a part of this show, which I'm assuming is why it's going to be just centered on Wakanda itself. I don't know. It doesn't give a lot of information for it besides the fact that it's going to be based on Wakanda, and I imagine it probably we're looking at next year, at least a year from now, before we see it on Disney Plus, if they just started on it now. But Wakanda is, I mean, that could be like if the story just takes place totally there, because that is kind of like an isolated place from the rest of the world, and they're kind of high tech, and it's almost like a future, like you could have a show there that's almost like it takes place in the future even though it's now. So it could be neat. You would have to, which I'm assuming they would probably be developing some new characters. They're also making a Black Panther 2 movie. I think Coogler is making that as well. So I mean, I guess they are going to either recast Black Panther, or what I think is probably going to happen, another character from the MCU, from Wakanda, I assume, is going to pick up that mantle. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they figure out a way to bring back Killmonger, because he was probably the best part of that movie, and Michael B. Jordan has worked with Ryan Coogler quite a bit. And whenever people talk about Black Panther, before the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman, they talked about Michael B. Jordan's character, because Michael B. Jordan was a really good part of that movie. As far as Black Panther goes, me myself, I thought Black Panther was fine. I thought it was a good movie. It was entertaining. It was an MCU movie. I didn't necessarily think it was like as groundbreakingly, amazingly awesome as a lot of people did. I just thought it was a really good movie. I didn't think it was bad either. It's just entertaining. I thought it had some issues, and like technical issues, especially closer to the end, and I think those have been detailed ad nauseum. But I don't hold that. As far as like storytelling wise, it was good. I had a good time with it. I'd be interested in seeing the second movie. This show, I don't know. I haven't really gotten into any of the Marvel shows yet. I mean, granted, there's only been WandaVision. Isn't that the only one so far? Besides, they had that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show and the Inhumans. I haven't seen the Inhumans, but I heard it's so bad that I almost want to watch it just to see how bad it is. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was okay. It was nothing to write home about. It was kind of like, hey, if you're doing laundry or folding laundry or cleaning the living room or something and you want something playing in the background, turn that on. It was all right. At least what I watched a couple of seasons of it, and then I faded off of it. WandaVision I've not watched yet because I was going to wait until all of them come out, because I'm impatient. But I've heard very mixed things about that. If nothing else, it looks like it'll be interesting. So this could be a good show. Who knows? I think if they just kind of try and tell their own self-contained stories within Wakanda, with maybe some newer characters, or maybe some characters they introduce in the new Black Panther, whichever one comes out first, or maybe they introduce the characters in the show when they show up in Black Panther 2. I don't know. But if they have some like new interesting characters that have some interesting things to do that are kind of in this future world, I think that could be a good time. It could be fun. I just hope that the MCU has kind of become, everything has to be tied together. Like nothing happens in any of these shows or movies or anything unless it has a bearing on the whole MCU or the MCU as a whole. That's how it's been, this Phase 4 thing since Endgame. I don't think that they really know. They're just trying to emulate that again, and I don't know how that's going to work out. But we'll see. Once again, not a lot of info for Wakanda, the series, yet. I imagine, they said they don't even have a name for it yet. I imagine it'll probably just be called Wakanda or something like that. I don't know. I don't think they'll call it Black Panther. They'll probably just call it Wakanda, and I bet Black Panther won't even be in it, except for maybe some cameos here or there. But we'll see. I mean, I imagine, like I said, we're probably a year and a half out from seeing this thing at best, so we'll find out then. So next in line, this one we talked about briefly, I think not on this show, but in my live stream. I was speaking with someone about this, or this movie. There's another remake incoming and I'm excited about it, but I'm not gonna say I'm worried. It's just an odd choice, kind of, I guess, but maybe not if you think about it. It's kind of the reverse of what we're used to, actually, and that would be Cube. Cube came out in, I think, 1999 or very late 90s. The original Cube, and it had 2 or 3 sequels that came out as well. The first one, regardless of what you think of the sequels, the first one was a great movie. It's really good, highly regarded. It's a very interesting, low-budget movie, but they did a lot with the budget. And it is being remade in Japan. So it's kind of the reverse of what usually happens to Japanese horror movies, where they get American remakes. Now Japan is getting a Japanese remake of an American horror sci-fi movie. I thought that was interesting, but I would be very interested to see a Cube movie from the Japanese horror perspective, with today's sensibilities and effects. Which the effects in Cube were actually really good, especially for when it came out and its budget. But I'm really interested to see how they're going to do that. It's coming from Shakichu. I'm going to butcher this, but Shakichu. And Variety reported on it and said it's a major Japanese film producer and distributor has announced the remake of Cube. 1997. I'm sorry, I said 99. And as far as I know, the original, everyone involved in it originally is not going to be involved in it here. It's just a total remake by this Shochiku. Let's go with that. That sounds good. That sounds very Japanese. Shochiku. But yeah, once again, like many of the other stories we've been talking about here, there's not a whole lot of information here on it. It does say that it's going to be directed by Shimizu Yoshiko, whose credits include the 2019 shocker Vice. I don't think I've seen Vice, so I can't really say. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I take back what I said a minute ago. Apparently, according to Variety, the remake was shot in October and November of last year, based on an adapted script by Toku Koji. So, and that's good. The original creator of the original Cube, man, I am terrible with fucking names tonight, but Vincenzo Natali, we're just going to call him Natali, served as a creative advisor. So that's good that they had him there to just kind of say, hey, this is how Cube should be. And we've got a poster of it here. It's pretty basic. I mean, the Cube looks about the same, and there's a bloody foot on a spike or something going on there. So I'm interested. It says that it's going to come out October 22nd this year, 2021, in Japan. And I assume that it's going to be in Japanese, so I'll have to wait for either a subtitled or dubbed version to come over here. Who knows when that'll be. So, looking forward to that. Any Cube fans out there? We haven't gotten a sequel or anything to do with Cube in probably the past, 10 years or so. I can't remember when the last sequel. I think there was Cube, then there was Cube Squared, and then there was Cube Zero, I think. I think there were either 2 or 3 sequels. So it was either 3 or 4 movies in total. I can't remember. And they kind of, I guess most people consider that they went down in quality as the series went on. I thought all of them were interesting for what they were, but the first one was definitely the most original. They were all playing off of the first one. They were all trying to live up to that first one. Still, if you like the first one, the other ones are interesting, and if you go in understanding what they are, they're entertaining. I'll be interested to see how this one works out. It looks like they got some talent behind the camera. I don't know who's going to be in front of it. It could be, this could turn out to be like a runaway hit. And who knows if it's really popular, because it's been so long since we've had a Cube movie that I don't think it's really on the mind of the populace right now. If Cube, the Japanese Cube, turns out to be just a big hit, and then it comes over here and people freak out about it, maybe we'll get an American remake of the Japanese horror remake of the American horror. So it'll be kind of like an Inception kind of thing. So, I mean, maybe that'll happen. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if Hollywood does that. If the Japanese Cube just takes off and Hollywood's like, we got to get the rights to that. We need to make an American version of that. I could totally see that. That's how out of touch some of the people in Hollywood seem like they are. But yeah, Cube, it's just going to be called Cube. It's not Cube 4 or 5 or remake or anything like that. But look forward to that if you're a Cube fan, or if you like interesting little horror movies. Check it out, October 22nd, 2021. Well, if you speak Japanese, check it out, October 22nd, 2021. I'm assuming it is in Japanese. And if not, maybe shortly after that. And if you haven't seen the original Cube, check it out. I'm sure it's on a streaming platform somewhere, or you can get it for fairly cheap. It's definitely worth checking out. The first one, at least. Just regular Cube, not Cube anything else. Just regular old Cube. Check that out if you get a chance. So moving on from there. But this is a controversial topic here. I'm going to say that. Well, the topic, I don't know, is controversial right now, but what I'm going to have to say about it could potentially be controversial. I'm not attempting to be controversial. I just want to... it's just my view, and that's what I'm here to talk about. And I'm not trying to offend anybody by saying this, but nowadays I don't think you can say one fucking word, especially on the internet, without offending somebody. So fuck it, is what it is. What I'm talking about is a movie that most of you have definitely heard of, but most of you have probably also seen. Also, I would go as far as to say that at this point, it's probably a classic, at least a cult classic for damn sure. And of course, that's Superbad. People have been talking about a sequel to Superbad for some time. I don't know how it would work now, at least with the same characters. I mean, Michael Cera and Jonah Hill, they both look pretty young, so they could probably get by with it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. They're not making a Superbad 2 as of yet, at least. We're not talking about that. I think Superbad's one of those movies that just leave it the fuck alone. It was great. It was really entertaining. It was a movie that I don't think anybody was expecting to be as good and timeless as it is. Leave it alone. It doesn't need a fucking sequel. It's great just as it is. You want to see more Superbad? Go watch Superbad again. You don't have to make a sequel to everything. Just leave it the fuck alone. Because sometimes when you make a sequel and it comes out being shit, it kind of taints the first one's image a bit. But apparently that's a thing, comes up every few years about Superbad. And Christopher Mintz-Plasse, the McLovin, that's what everybody calls him. He had something to say about it, and he, in his opinion, said the only way to make, this is coming from IndieWire, by the way, the only way to make a Superbad 2 is with a female version. I do not mean this in any kind of sexist, chauvinist, offensive way, but no, not in my opinion. I mean, granted, I don't make movies, but I review them, and I watch a lot of them, and I have nothing against women. I love ladies. I love women. I absolutely love them. I love movies that women are in. Some of my favorite characters are females. Ellen Ripley from Aliens, and Alien, but especially Aliens, one of the best characters ever made. Sarah Connor from the first, especially the second, but definitely the first two Terminator movies, not Dark Fate. She, great character, love her. Many others. But do we need a female version of Superbad? No, we don't. We don't need a female version of Superbad. That's not... If that's the only way to make Superbad 2, then you don't make Superbad 2. Why do we have to make a female version of everything? That'd be like taking a female movie and making a male version of it. I mean, what's the point? There's no point in it. And they actually mention in this story here on IndieWire that people have said, well, isn't that already a thing? Isn't that already a thing with the movie Booksmart? And its director came back and said, no, it's not. Where was that? I think it was Olivia Wilde. Did Olivia Wilde? I think she directed Booksmart. Let's see here. Where is it? Yeah, writer-director Olivia Wilde said she wouldn't classify her acclaimed comedy that way. As Wilde told Yahoo Entertainment in September 2019, Booksmart stands alone from Superbad. Hopefully we get to a point where every female, she also said, hopefully we get to a point where every female movie doesn't have to become a female version of a male movie. I agree. But I loved Superbad, Wilde said. And she also said, it's amazing, but I did feel that we should stand alone. See, I like where her head's at. Hopefully that's the kind of pattern that will grow out of movies. Or out of. Movies don't, that we will grow out of, I'm sorry. Movies don't have to be the female version of anything, you know? And one day, I'm assuming a joke, and one day there will be a male Booksmart. But, and I'm with her there. I don't, the only thing I kind of disagree with her, well, I don't disagree with her. What she said is true. She said, the female version of movies don't have to become, I'm sorry, hopefully we can get to a point where every female movie doesn't have to become a female version of a male film. I don't think that every female movie out there is a female version of a male film. I think that there are female, if you will, female-led movies that are very much female movies and they're not based on a male version of a film. I mean, you could look at any movie and say, oh, that's you know, not based on, but it's inspired by this movie or that. But look at something like Bridesmaids. I mean, sure, you can take any other raunchy comedy and say, oh, it's inspired by a raunchy comedy. Okay, beyond that, I don't feel like, it's not like Ocean's 8 or the 2016 Ghostbusters, things like that. Those are what I'm talking about. What's the purpose of it? Besides just saying, hey, it's a female version. I have no problem with a female-led movie, but make original movies. We don't need a female Ghostbusters or a female Superbad or all that. There's nothing wrong. I mean, you can make look at Bridesmaids. I thought Bridesmaid was great. It was hilarious. It was funny as shit because it was his own thing. It was original. It worked for those characters. What do you need a female Superbad for? I don't get it. Why? I'm with Olivia Wilde there, which, hey, stop trying to make female versions of male movies. Just make, you know, female-led movies. Or better yet, just make good movies with good characters. And if it's populated with males or females, who cares? I mean, I get where they're coming from. Yeah, people want inclusion and all that. They want to be represented, or representation. They want to be have female represented movies, and that's fine. That's cool. But I mean, I don't think that all movies that are representative of females are based on male movies of the same kind. There are some, and I think that those movies typically fail because they're not trying to be their own thing. They're trying to emulate something else, i.e. Ghostbusters, which I didn't, and it had nothing to do with it being females. I just didn't like that movie. It wasn't entertaining. It was just not good at all. And then whatever the other one I mentioned a minute ago. But I totally disagree with Christopher Mintz-Plasse right here, where he's saying that they should make a female version of that. That sounds like a terrible idea. Why the fuck would you do that? And I mean, people might disagree with me, and that's fine. But don't waste your time with remaking something else. You're going to be the replacement. What female would want to do that? You just want to be the replacement for Michael Cera and Jonah Hill and Christopher Mintz-Plasse? No, you make your own thing. Go be in another movie that's funny or raunchy or whatever it may be. Branch out and do your own fucking thing. I wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, just be original. Do your own thing. Stop trying to remake other stuff just because sometimes I feel like, and this is probably the more controversial part, I feel like sometimes it's just being done just to say that they did. And when I say they, I don't necessarily even mean the people involved in like on screen, but some of these movies are just made to say, oh, we made a female version or this version or that version. I'm like, well, why? I mean, just make another fucking good movie. Make a good movie that has all female, all this, that, or whatever. I mean, why remake something that you know is probably going to piss some people off? That I don't know. I don't know why anybody would do that. I just wanted to touch on that. I saw that, and I was kind of like, oh, Superbad 2. Oh, no. And so, but no, apparently, as of right now at least, this story was just talking about how apparently he made that comment. That's not really, it's not a thing. That's not happening. As of now, I mean, who knows? Fucking tomorrow, they might be like, you know, interest in Superbad, female Superbad 2 is been drummed up, and now it's being made. I wouldn't be surprised. So, what do you guys think? A female-led remakes, and like I said, nothing against females. It's just the fact of why are you remaking it just solely as that? I don't get it. What are your thoughts? How about we make more original? Let's make more original female films instead of remaking something else. Who wants to do that? Moving on from there, though, real quick, last piece of news. Well, I got kind of the last piece of news I want to go over, just kind of touch on. There's not a lot here. Many of the stories this week have been like that. Not a lot of substance to them. It's kind of like these are all early seeds beginning, like the Wakanda series and the GameStop movie and the Cube and all. Well, Cube's just about here. All these things. You know, it's more like, hey, this is coming later on, or here's some cool ideas and cool things that may be coming or that are coming. This falls in line with that. It's a bit more further back at this point. This particular thing is a bit of an idea, but the people involved is what really gets me hyped for it. This project does not even have a fucking name yet, or at least one that we know of. I'm sure it has one, but we don't know what that name is. But it is going to be, at some point, a new David Cronenberg movie. He is coming back to make a movie. He has not made a movie since 2014's Maps to the Stars. And he hasn't made, the king of body horror hasn't really made a body horror type-esque movie since 1999's Existence. If you are familiar with his work, which most of you are at least familiar with his work, if not his name, you know that he is the king of body horror. But he did do a few movies. By the way, he is the director of the 80s Jeff Goldblum's The Fly. It's probably what he's, people of nowadays, that's probably what he's best known for. That kind of body horror. That is my man, David Cronenberg. But he made 3 movies with Viggo Mortensen in the mid-2000s. One being A History of Violence, which was excellent. By the way, it's based on a graphic novel. A lot of people don't know that. Great movie. So good. Eastern Promises, which was pretty good. And A Dangerous Method. I actually have not seen that one, but I hear that it's pretty good as well. And I can speak to Eastern Promises and especially A History of Violence, even though they are not body horror movies, much like his son's recent movie that ended up on my best top movies of 2020, Possessor, which was also not a body horror or even a horror movie. The violence in, I can't remember Eastern Promises so much, but definitely A History of Violence. When the violence does pop off, you can see Cronenberg's hand there. It's extremely violent and very visceral and realistic. So, you know, and there's something to be, he does violence he makes it an art form. He does it so well. And his son did a fantastic job with Possessor as well. If you haven't seen Possessor by David Cronenberg's son, Brandon Cronenberg, came out this year. It was my number one. It actually was kind of between number 1 and number 2, but it was definitely, I called it my number 1 movie of 2020, and it is a fantastic movie, but it is not for the weak-stomached. If you there's some parts in it and you see it coming, you need to look away if you don't like violence, because that shit is fucking real. That movie is terribly violent. I loved every minute of it, and he gets that from his dad. But what's really interesting about that, Viggo Mortensen and David Cronenberg are talking about getting back together to reunite for a strange film noir story with body horror. So I'm like, holy shit. These types of strange films are what, you know, Cronenberg is really known for. A noir, I really love those, and Mortensen's done those, and Cronenberg's he's flirted with that as well. And body horror. That's Cronenberg's shit, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he'll do here. Once again, it doesn't say much beyond that. It was in an interview. It says that while promoting something else, I think, according to Mortensen, the movie is a strange film noir story, and it will feature body horror elements, something Cronenberg is extremely well versed in. And it also mentions how there hasn't been a David Cronenberg movie since 2014's Maps to the Stars, and that's not okay. I totally agree. Cronenberg is a great director. He has played parts in lots of movies. He's had bit parts in tons of movies. He probably his most fleshed out role would be, and he was perfect for it, was Nightbreed. If any of you have ever seen Nightbreed, I love Nightbreed. There's like 10 different versions of it. Apparently there's a new version that's coming that's supposed to be the definitive version. But either way, he's the ultimate villain in it. He's the doctor. That's David Cronenberg. And Cronenberg just has this way of talking and just this kind of air about him that's really weird. I've heard he's a super nice guy in real life, but according to what interviews say, but he's just kind of got this creepy vibe to him. But I don't care what he has doing to him. He had the fucker can do body horror like no other, and he can make some really, really good looking, just really interesting looking movies. He's made some great movies. Now he did make a movie. Apparently it was before 2014, I guess. I watched with Robert Pattinson called Cosmopolitan, I think it was. Very experimental movie. I didn't like that movie. I did not like that movie. It didn't do it for me. I didn't like it. It was very different. It had his style, but it was too much. It was too far out there. But most of David Cronenberg's movies is if his name is attached to a movie, there's going to be something about it that's at least interesting. If not great, it will be interesting. But definitely check out A History of Violence. Like I mentioned a moment ago, The Fly. If you like History of Violence, check out Eastern Promises. Can't speak to A Dangerous Method, but if it's got these two in it, Viggo Mortensen, it's got fucking Aragorn in it. I mean, you can't go wrong with him. Viggo Mortensen is a great actor. But yeah, that's all there really is to it. David Cronenberg will be making a comeback. According to this, Mortensen said that they hope to start filming this summer. So we could possibly see this movie as early as a year from now, after the new year. Who knows? Depending on how long filming takes, what they're making, post-production, all that. We could be seeing a new David Cronenberg movie in a year. And not just a Cronenberg movie, but a Cronenberg movie with Viggo Mortensen, some graphic violence, and body horror once again. So I am looking forward to that. Hopefully some of the Cronenberg fans out there, I'm sure you guys will be looking forward to it too. And as soon as we hear more about it, I will talk about it here. So that is about all I got for the news this week. This first trailer is not a movie trailer. It is a video game trailer. However, this is one of the best, most cinematic video games beyond a straight-up full-motion video game that I've ever played. It's a remaster or remake, or not a remake. I guess it's a remaster is the best way, because I don't think they're fully remaking it. But I wanted to watch this little short trailer that just came out today of one of my all-time favorite video game series, one of the most perfect trilogies ever made. We're not going to talk about the fourth one. And I will definitely be playing this version of it when it comes out on Retro Wednesday. Well, I'll be playing it on my Retro Wednesday live stream when it comes out I think it's coming in March. I could be totally wrong on that. I don't have all the information in front of me, but I did want to kind of react to this trailer and just kind of give my thoughts, because like I said, this is one of my favorites ever. And of course, I am talking about Mass Effect. If you like good sci-fi stories, check out Mass Effect. It's probably one of the most, this and something like they made Mass Effect, BioShock are probably two of the video game movie or video game stories that I would like to see made into movies properly by the right people. More than any other properties. But let's check this out. This is a remake of the first three games. Coming out is one called the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It's just a short trailer. It's a space opera. It's just so good. It's almost like when we play it when I do it in a couple of months when it comes out on the Retro Wednesday live stream. You guys will see. Those of you that aren't familiar with it, you'll see. It's just awesome. It's kind of like playing a movie. Mass Effect Legendary Edition trailer. Here we go. Normandy. That's from Mass Effect 2. I think that's from part 3. Could be any of them. It looks better. Oh, yeah. The story in this is so good. There's a lot of stuff from part 3. I want to see some part 1 stuff. There's a whole lot of part 3 stuff. Part 1's the one that can use the biggest upgrade. The Oh, cool. I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of getting chills. I don't do that often.
You were born to do this.
Oh, that's the end right there. That was one of the endings. I don't know, if you haven't played Mass Effect, you're probably like, okay, that was fine. What about it? That's fucking awesome, though. If you're a Mass Effect fan, that's badass. I'm super hyped for that. I'm really excited. I mean, I've played through these games. I know this remake is going to be, not remake, remaster, is just going to be the same. I've played these stories. I know what happens. I know the secrets. I know all that stuff. But I'm really hyped to play it again because I haven't played them in so long, like all the way through. And I'm really looking forward to playing through again. But a little bit for those of you that have played it, or first of all, for those of you that haven't played any of the Mass Effect games, it's a space opera. It's one of the most detailed, well-told sci-fi stories ever definitely in video games. But really it goes beyond that. I mean, I've spoken before about how video game stories, a good video game story, or a great video game story might, if you just took it and translated it beat for beat, typically will make a decent or an okay movie. Because I think that we hold video game stories to a different standard than movie stories. And that's just the truth. And I love video games. And I think that video game stories can be adapted to great movies. But video games have an interactive piece to them, very important interactive piece to them that gets you very much invested, more invested in the character and story than a movie. A movie's very passive. So the storytelling in a movie has to be really good and really on point to grab you the same way that a video game can. A video game can get away with having great gameplay and just some really good characters, but if you just took just those story beats and put them in movie form, it wouldn't always work. You'd have to add a little something else. That doesn't mean change it. I think that's where a lot of people fuck up. But the Mass Effect is some of the best storytelling that I've seen in video games. It's just fantastic storytelling, branching storylines. One of the really cool things it did was it was one of the first games, at least mainstream games for sure, and I think it may still be. I've noted this before, but where your progress moves from game to game to game. Because you play the same character and you end up having the same overarching. Each game has its own goal and antagonist. But there is an overarching story that you're going towards from the beginning of part 1 all the way to part 3. And your progress, every little thing you do, some of the big things you do, the big decisions you make, they carry over to the second game and to the third one. And decisions you made in the first game will affect things that happen in the third game. And even like conversations you have, there are characters in the first game you'll have a conversation with, and it's supposed to take place over the course of some years. Years later, in the third game, you'll come and you'll run across someone, you might not even remember them, like in real life. You won't remember this character, and they'll reference something you said to them in the first game, and you're like, holy shit, yeah, I do remember talking to that person. It may have been a little different when I originally played this, because there were years between the games as I played them. But you talk to so many people in the game, I could see you forgetting someone you talked to. But it was just they gave it a very personal touch, because you formed relationships in this game, and that was a big part. Like part 2, that's a huge part of part 2, is forming relationships with the other characters, like gaining their alliance and stuff like that. And it does it in a very natural way. It's all about the story. It's got some good gameplay as well, but these games are all about the story, and the story is so damn good. And I mean, it's like the third one catches a lot of shit for some stuff it did at the end, but it is so rousing. It is so fucking like hype. You're just like, fuck yeah. And it is one of the most, it's like when you go see that the end of that epic franchise, movie franchise, your Lord of the Rings, your Star Wars, things like that, that you've just been waiting for years and years and years. That's what the third Mass Effect was like, is like jumping into that. It felt like one of those kinds of experiences. It was just great. I'm really happy to see that coming back. All the stuff, everything that was ever added to the game, DLC, all that stuff has been added in. For those of you that have played Mass Effect and enjoyed it, once again, I don't have all the information in front of me, but from what I understand, we've known about this thing coming up for a while, but we didn't know whether it was going to include, was it going to include, what was I going to say? Sorry. We didn't know if they were going to actually just be like up-resing the graphics, or if they were going to actually like remaster the graphics like they did with like Resident Evil and some of the other remasters they've been doing over the past few years. We just didn't know. We didn't know what BioWare was going to be doing with this thing. And apparently it's a little bit of both. It's not a full-on remake, but it's not just a simple up-res. Everything has been... one of the most important things they did, they made everything prettier, and they did tweak some things, but probably the biggest differences are going to come in the first game, because the first game is different from the other two. Part 2 and 3 are very much... They're a lot alike in how they're made. They have they have a lot of the same sensibilities, like the item management, the way the game is played, the way it looks, it all goes along. They all look the same, but the first one is different in a lot of ways. And they apparently took all that stuff from the second two games, Part 2 and 3, and they've now updated Part 1 to be like that, with the same like engine and the item management and just a lot of the things that people not complained about, but comparably speaking, to like the second one and the third one, that stuff is in the first one now. The first one it'll be a seamless experience across all three now, apparently. So that's pretty cool. I'm really excited. If nothing else, they did that. It was already a good looking game. It came out on the 360, so, it wasn't perfect, but it was a good-looking game. And if they updated the first one to this and they fixed a couple little things throughout the years, then I'm excited enough for that. That's good enough for me. I'm cool with that. It's got all the stuff in it, and it's going to be like in 4K and all that. I'm good. I'm game. This game is so fucking good. You didn't have to really update much. I appreciate them like making everything kind of streamlined, like a unified experience across all three. So it's almost like you're just playing one big ass game now instead of 3 different games. That's cool. But beyond that, I'm good, man. These games are so fucking good. I'll go back and I've got the originals. I'll go back and play those and be totally happy. So the fact that they're giving me more, I'm happy with whatever they give me. The only thing that they've taken out of the games is apparently the third one's multiplayer, which I don't think anybody's really upset about that. That was tacked on anyway. So everything is here, everything. And I'm really excited about it. Definitely going to be playing it here. This looks really cool. It is kind of, snippets. So you're not getting, the trailer's not showing like a ton. I can tell because it's not like such an upgrade. I could tell it is upgraded because I watched my wife play the Mass Effect trilogy not that long ago. So I can tell, it is upgraded. I see upgraded visuals, but it's not upgraded to the point to where like Resident Evil 2 was compared to where it started. But I can definitely see that it does look better. It's going to be a good looking game. But even if it looked exactly like it did back in the day, this game, the story and the gameplay, this game is just one of the best. This is one of the best fucking trilogies ever made and absolutely deserves to be played. If you've never played it, get on that shit. You should absolutely get on it. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are too. And as soon as it comes out, I will definitely be playing it here on the channel on Retro Wednesday. I might even go as far as to stream every single night for a week if I think I can make it through all 3 games in one single week. Like hardcore, like 5 hours a night, maybe more. I don't know. That might be something to look into. I love this fucking series, but There it is. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So that'll about do it for this week's episode 3 of the JARcast. This is going to be showing up on Spotify and hopefully by the time you're listening and or seeing this on all of your other favorite podcasting like providers and everything like that. So definitely check it out there. And also I'll be back next week, and of course tomorrow night, every Wednesday on my YouTube channel, Jacob Anders Reviews. You can check out my Retro Wednesday live stream where I take a game that is more cinematically inspired and try and just play through it and hopefully beat it. We're not always successful at that, but we always have a good time. Come hang out in the live chat. We play for a few hours every Wednesday evening, starting at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. But yeah, that's about all I got this week. I will be back next week on Tuesday for episode 4. I will also soon be having guests on the show. Not sure exactly when, but coming soon, I will be having some guests to join me here. That will be at a later date, and I'll let you guys know what's up with that. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening and or watching. Check out my channel, Jacob Anders Reviews, for more movie reviews every week. Got some good stuff coming this week, some newer movies. Plus, we just check out, by the way, this past week I had a movie I reviewed called Sky Sharks. Really fucking ridiculous. And the middle portions, a little weak. But the beginning of that movie and the end of that movie are worth seeking out and checking out just for those alone. If you like some over-the-top ridiculousness, check that out. You'll have a good time with it. All right, I appreciate everybody who came by and listened and or watched today, and I will see you all next week. Peace.